Welcome, everybody. You are here for another soul-nourishing episode of the It's All Good Show, and I am Dr. Dream. Today, I have the joy and absolute honor of welcoming a radiant light and spiritual force. Her name is Danielle Hewitt. I have, for the majority of the time I've known her, referred to her as Reverend Danielle, as she was the spiritual leader of the Temple of Light in Orange County, California. And we met back in, I'm figuring about 2009. And I did events at the Temple of Light that Danielle supported at the highest level. I did one-on-one sessions there, and it was the beginning of my journey as Dr. Dream, as a holistic healing practitioner. And I'm breaking from my script here a little bit. She has been an inspiration for me since the moment that I met her. And her skills of leadership and compassion and guidance have had a tremendous impact on my life personally. And so it's a natural for me to have her on the It's All Good show. Now I'll go back to the script that I wrote. She is a leader, healer, and truth speaker whose path is deeply rooted in divine guidance, sacred service, and the awakening of the human soul. Danielle's presence carries the energy of remembrance and renewal. And today we'll journey into her story, her calling, and the ways that some of the new ways that she's helping others reclaim their connection to source and inner truth. So let's just dive in, Dan. And my initial thing is always to say Reverend Danielle, and I'm just like, and I mean that with the highest level of respect and love and gratitude for who you are. And we have traversed a lot of ground together. And I watched you for years, and I learned from you, and part of my life has been modeled off your example, as I'm not the only one. I know that. And I made friends, not just with you at the Temple of Light, but with others who have remained some of my closest friends. And so welcome to the It's All Good show.
Thank you. My goodness, such an introduction. You had me choked up. I had to grab my Kleenex.
You and I are cut from a very similar cloth, I would say. We're both very much connected to our emotional bodies. And one of our similarities, which we probably both have risen up to, but if we didn't have to have had this similarity, we probably would have been okay with it, is that I had my back-to-back strokes in September of 2020, and you had a stroke in February of 2023. And again, not my favorite mirror of the two of us, but actually it's one that brought some change for both of us and had us step more into something. But let's go ahead and before we jump into like the more recent stuff, I just love for you to share a moment or experience that first awakened your spiritual path.
Oh gosh, this is going back over 20 years now. In the early 2000s, I was really struggling emotionally and looked around for some external source of unhappiness, and none was to be found. I lived in a beautiful city, in a beautiful home, husband, 4 kids, cute dog, minivan in the driveway. There was nothing external that I could point my finger to that said, that's why I'm unhappy. And so I, in a moment of truth, kind of gulped and said, well, it must be me. And I must be the source of my unhappiness because there's nothing out there I can point my finger to. And it started me on a journey of some pretty deep introspection, reflection. I took up a meditation practice. I sought mentors. I took classes. I learned. And the more I learned, the more I became committed to learning more. And every corner I turned revealed some new truth. And I was just insatiable. I couldn't get enough. And even now, 25 years later, I am still seeking truths at deeper levels, and they never cease to amaze me or surprise me. And it's still, every time I uncover something, I'm still amazed, incredibly grateful, moved, inspired, and it has taken me on a path of let me learn more and let me turn around and teach anything I've learned. Let me be that forever student and that forever teacher.
Well, again, my past experience with you and watching you has been one of seeing incredible commitment and dedication. And it is, I mean, how do you identify, the qualities of a person that are the lasting ones? And it's the impact that we have on the people that we come into contact with. And you're in all of that. I know I didn't tell you we were going to talk specifically about the stroke, but I feel like it plays a role in everything that's happened since then, and big things. You've moved into big things, different things since your stroke. So take us into whatever you want to share about the stroke, but more to the point, I guess, what did it bring up for you? What did it change for you? And then you opened up some new energies after that experience.
I did. For many of the viewers today, they may or may not be familiar with the Conscious Life Expo. It's an annual event that takes place in Los Angeles, and hundreds of healers, thousands of people gather and listen to lectures and buy wonderful products and gather. And I was at that Conscious Life Expo that weekend with my very dear friend, Elizabeth, and I had been feeling exceptionally tired and down, and I knew I was grieving several things. And in my teachings, I always tell people the power of our thoughts, intentions, and that we need to discern or govern what it is that we declare we want, because the universe is always listening. And in that weekend, I sat with a healer and I had a session with her. And I remember declaring loudly in my mind, I need to convalesce. And I imagined myself on a desert island, laying underneath a coconut tree, just checking out of the world for a year or two and resting. And Dr. Dream, I had the stroke 5 hours later. So one of my biggest teachings, and, healer, heal thyself, teacher, listen to your own teachings. I inadvertently, on some level, manifested a situation where I would be at home for 2 years, reflecting, convalescing. And the 2 years that I spent in the initial recovery stage, I spent a lot of time alone, reflecting, thinking, meditating, resting, understanding. I wrote a book. I finished my master's degree. And I did a lot of, I basically, I kind of checked out. I kind of crawled under a rock, and it it took 2 years for me to say, okay, I'm strong enough to emerge now. What did I learn from that experience? And there was a lot of both physical and mental determination in getting better. And I did do the physical things. I did physical therapy. I exercised. I changed my diet. I did all the things that a human does to honor the human body. In addition to that, I did a lot of reflection, like, okay, on some level, I created this. And my teacher, Diana Steigel from Theta Healing, always taught us if you created it, you can discreate it. And so I went back in and said, okay, for whatever reasons, I needed this convalescence. Show me what that looks like. Show me why I created that, what I was getting out of it, and show me what I needed to be done with this so that I can come back into the fold and re-engage rested from whatever it is I needed to rest from. And it was a huge lesson and experience in the power of thought, mind, declaration, prayer, introspection, desire, commitment, passion. It was all of that.
Now, you and I had lost contact or just had not maintained contact for many years as I was out on the road doing the tour of love as I do. And when I was coming back to do some events in Southern California, I reconnected with you, found out about your stroke, was deeply touched knowing what my experience and healing process was. And I invited you to one of our events at an EE System Center. That's the energy enhancement system that I hold as one of the energetics that allowed me to move through my strokes. And it's a beautiful experience having you and your husband there and being able to honor you and everything that you have meant to me, as I will do whenever I see you or whenever I'm in your presence because of what you mean to me. One of our first 333 bowl experiences was at your Temple of Light in Orange County. The only yeah, I get a little emotional also.
Those were special days. They were.
The only experiences that my brother Todd, who has transitioned, ever saw was at the Temple of Light. And he came to 2 or 3 experiences there. And so it was convenient for him because he lived there. Had I not done those experiences there, he may never have seen what I do. And so many highlights and so many pieces of the puzzle of who I am coming together, based on what you had created. And I know I'm not the only one that speaks this way about you and the space you held and the Temple of Light. It's been amazing. And after we connected at the experience in Orange County, we had some subsequent phone calls. You talked to me about writing the book, which I always wanted to write a book. So that was inspiring up to the thing where I still haven't written the book, but it's still very inspiring for me. And then you were struggling a bit when you came to that event. And then we talk about the book. The book comes out. I have the book. We can talk about it if you'd like. And then I see you traveling the world. You and your husband doing some amazing trips, the
We did.
cruise, I mean, just unbelievable. And it is heartwarming to me, your recovery or bringing yourself back to, I imagine, a better place, a healthier place, a more grounded space for yourself to be in the role that is your role now. Do you want to share a little bit, if you will, about the book? And then I've got some other things to touch on.
The book is called Conscious Leadership for Your Everyday Life. And while I don't emphasize my background too terribly much in this context, I am a CPA, and I also have an MBA, a Master's of Business Administration. And I ran with my husband a CPA practice for over 20 years. I love accounting. I love numbers. They speak to me. I can look at a financial statement and know everything there is to know about a business and the people that run it. And while I love that, I moved away from it to do the more spiritual work that you've been speaking of. But I never really lost my love for helping entrepreneurs because, as you know, entrepreneurs and your Dr. Dream, your whole philosophy about people stepping into their power, living their dreams. Well, in some muggle way, accountants do the same thing. And it's to help somebody who's empowered themselves to create their passion and build a business, whether it's selling paint at a local hardware store or whether it's doing Reiki sessions. It takes a lot of courage to identify a dream and then go and pursue it. And if I can help somebody from the very non-spiritual aspects, the nuts and bolts of accounting, finances, the legal, because you don't have to be an expert in that area, but you want to be well versed enough not to get caught up in anything negative that could happen if you missed something in that area. So when I wrote the book, it was about businesses, but I soon realized the moment I started writing it that somebody's business and who they are spiritually, mentally, they're intertwined. Your business is not separate from yourself. And so conscious leadership is not just about being a leader in a business and trying to do it in a conscientious way, but it's being a conscientious leader of your own life. And that probably, without me realizing it when I wrote that book, isn't that what we all could benefit from, being a conscious leader of our own life as compared to unconscious leadership? And whether you take that into building a business, being an at-home parent, being retired, whatever you do, however you express yourself in this human lifetime, if we can do it consciously and with purpose, with clarity. And that's what I wrote the book about. And then I guess I can say this in this space, Spirit has got me to write down 10 more books. There's a total of 11 books that'll be in this series. And so the next 10 books are coming. And it's conscious leadership for the newly divorced, conscious leadership for the new single parent, conscious leadership for the newly retired, just all aspects of life that we kind of, the tapestry that we all experience in some form or another, how to embrace what happened and do it. And conscious leadership with your health will obviously be one of them. That's the book I didn't intend to write, but will be written. And thank you for all the wonderful things you said about our joint experience of having a stroke. It's a heck of a thing to get past. And I'm assuming you had some similar experiences to me in adjusting to a new norm as compared to kicking and screaming. And I did read some books on strokes, and depression is prevalent in about 50% of the stroke recovery patients because you have so many things that you have to relearn how to do differently, or figure out little tricks of the trade. When I wrote my book, my left hand still wasn't working very well, so I couldn't use the keyboard. My husband bought me a microphone, and I just went into a Word document and dictated. I'm like, you find workarounds. And that's kind of what we do in life. This doesn't work. We come up to a barrier here. Let's try something different. And we become fluid. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I got out of recovering from a stroke was how to be fluid, how to look at things differently, how to figure out different ways to do things, a new perspective, a new understanding, shedding of the old ways and being open-minded to do things differently and and not be annoyed about it.
Right. I love it. As I'm listening to you, I realize we have something else in common that I know you will agree is very powerful, and that is incredibly supportive spouses that were there by our sides the whole time and didn't let up and didn't let us let up. And I used to go through a thought process of what if Stephanie hadn't been in my life, what would it look like? And I will tell you, everything I envisioned without her didn't look good at all. And I just, the gift, that's one of the gifts that I know we are both very fortunate to experience in this lifetime.
Yes, I belonged to a couple of stroke recovery groups, and there were people there that were single and alone. And I had this enormous swell of gratitude that I was not alone. I had a rock next to me that, have you taken your pills? Have you done your exercises? Let's go for a walk. And really making me stay on task, to commit to doing what I had to do, and helping me. And this poor man had to help me put my bra on. And I mean, this is your spouses, when they step up like that, through sickness and in health, it means something.
Yeah, absolutely. And such gratitude. Now, what has been coming through most strongly for you lately, either in messages, visions, or teachings that you're being guided to share with us?
That thank you. After I finished the book, that was published in January of 24, and then I finished my master's program in December of 24. The first couple of months of this year, I just rested. And then I found myself a little rudderless. And so deep into prayer, I went, okay, what's next for me? I finished the book. I finished my education. What's my next role? What's my next invention? And it was to start my private practice again and help teach everybody all the things I've recently learned. Because I had a private practice while I was running the temple, and it waned over the years. And I had a little whine and a little complaint to Spirit, and I said, oh, I don't want to go through all that again, where I'm trying to market it and get fees and all the finances of it. And this booming message came to me, then don't charge. And I went, oh, I love that idea. When I work with people and I'm mentoring them and channeling Spirit and getting messages, it is the best high I can possibly imagine. And it has always, I don't know if you or any of the listeners out there, when you have a passion and you want to do something, getting paying customers is a huge aspect of it that is sometimes a game changer for people, and it's the hardest part of it. And I went, okay, I'm retired. My husband and I have made our money. He's still working in the CPA practice, and I don't have to charge for this. I've earned my living. I've done all the things I had to do. I've been through that process, and so I'm like, she just has to be a part of it.
Right? That's so sweet.
And I had this wonderful epiphany of this is what stepping into abundance feels like. I have the space and the time, the energy and the passion to do it. And I'm lucky enough to have reached a point in my life where I've built my career. And I don't mean to indicate in any way that if somebody is at the beginning of their career, they should be doing it like I am. You have to build your career, you have to go through it. And buying groceries and gas and paying a mortgage, they're real things. I'm fortunate that I'm at the tail end of that experience where now I can simply do it because I love doing it. And so I reached out to several clients and said, I'm in a position now where I'm stepping into abundance and no longer feel the need to charge for session work, and got a huge response. And one person said to me, why don't you, in order to honor the energy exchange, offer one of your favorite nonprofits they can donate to? So I did that, and what my favorite nonprofit is a place in Orange County called Wise Place. They are a special organization that helps homeless women educate, have a place to live, learn job skills, and get back into, shall I call it, the system. Become renters again, buying cars, gas, groceries, but it helps homeless women get back into being contributors and feeling confident in the system. And it's a helpful, there's helping people. There's the old expression, you give somebody a fish they eat for a day, you teach them to fish they eat for a lifetime. This organization gets people back on their feet and gives them the confidence to work within, again, I'll use the word the system, which is job, taxes, rent, insurance, all that stuff. So my favorite nonprofit is called Wise Place. It's in Santa Ana. And what I do is when I have a session with someone, say, if you feel called to make a donation to this place to honor an energy exchange, please make a donation. And that's all I ask. And if they don't feel called or they don't have the money, that's fine too. But I am here to be a teacher and a guide and to bring in channeled messages from spirit. And I'm an angelic channel and love, love, love working with the angels. They have a sense of humor sometimes, and the things they have me say cracks me up. But I really get so much appreciation, gratification, and sense of purpose and fulfillment when I see the shift. And you can see it on their face. And you've got that experience when you've given somebody a piece of information and you can see them rewriting all of their thoughts and emotions. And it's powerful work. And it's blessed work. And I'm blessed to be able to offer it to people, absent the financial factor.
I really applaud this because I've said for years, I don't know if I'm ushering in a new paradigm or just living within my own paradigm, but I have for years done 20-minute no charge phone calls You do the assignment at the end of the call, you get another call. I'll stop doing the calls when the people stop doing the assignments. I'm also at an age and at a place where it's not about the money anymore. And so it's about just being there for people and not having my hand out, having my heart out, and extending the love and the guidance, whatever it is that comes through me. I did I was interviewed recently on SG Anand's show, and it had over 40,000 views. And a friend of mine who had not watched it yet said, well, what did you pitch? What did you put out there? And I said, oh, my 20-minute no charge phone calls. And he said, yeah, that's just like you, isn't it? And you know, it's just that thing. Back in the day, people used to say to me, Dr. Dream, how do I know I'm going to, and then it's framed in their belief system, heaven, the new earth, the golden age. And my answer, my stock answer always was, take a look at your life. This is not something to answer to me, but ask yourself, are you more than 51% in service to others or in service to self? And so when I first started doing the no charge phone calls, it was a way for me to do something that was completely in service to others, even though at the beginning of that in 2010, I was still needing to bring in money for the tour and this, that, and the other. We've done some 821 events since then. We're fine. But at that time, this was how I tipped the scale. And I have some 21-day programs, and my marketing people have always said, you should be charging for that. And I said, I'm paying you to do what I tell you to do, and I'm fine not charging for it. It's part of my equation, and being a Libra, it's part of the balance. And so I love hearing you say that, and what a tremendous gift for anyone that is called to have this experience with you. Now, it's a crazy world out there. Things have, I would say, maybe it's always been a crazy, but certainly since the COVID times and everything like that, it feels like it's been more challenging for people to manage their lives and belief systems and everything that is showing up at more chaotic possibly than it ever has. Yeah.
I think the world changed, and it didn't change back when COVID was over.
No, exactly. So tell us, how do you personally stay aligned when the world feels chaotic or uncertain?
I have been doing a lot of work recently with A Course in Miracles. You may or may not be familiar with that. And also with the work I did for years with theta healing. And there's a very deep truth that the only reality is the one here within us. What we see out there with our physical minds isn't the reality that we think it is. And so when you make the transition between looking at the reality outside and seeing its discontent, disalignment, unhappiness, and giving that truth as compared to having the truth come from within you, and then the miracle of watching the things change when you change what's within you. So I guess the answer to your question is not to lose the belief that peace is within. It is not. We're looking for changes in government. We're looking for changes in the economy. And the Dalai Lama once said, when you're looking for things when that happens, I'll be happy. When that happens, I'll be happy. When this happens, I'll be happy. You'll never be happy. It's I'm happy now, and then the way that you see things will either change or your perception of them changes, and you have a greater understanding of why they're the way that they are. And the battle with the outside world ceases. So give up the idea that there's a battle going on out there and stay in your heart space. And I think that's what the time I was recovering from the stroke taught me. I spent a lot of time alone in my living room with my cats, reading books. And I was in a place where I really looked inside for that inner peace and found it. And when I look at the outside world now and I can watch the news and all the different broadcasts, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, I mean, and looking at all the dichotomy of the different things they report, and I don't attach beliefs and emotions to it like I used to. And I think so to answer your question is when you find that inner peace, you stop attaching meaning to the perception and perspectives and beliefs of other people. And that's not an isolationist point of view. It's actually a very community point of view to say, okay, if I don't have inner peace, I can look at somebody and get caught up in the lack of their inner peace. But if I have it, I can look at them and say, I wish you inner peace. And you can really pray for people and have compassion for them and see their struggles without giving it a reality in your world.
Love that, Danielle. You are as inspirational as ever. That was such a good answer that it answered not just the question I asked, but the following question also. And I'm like, oh my goodness, are you good? Before we move on, because I have always seen you as a most lovely and powerful representation of the divine feminine. And I just want to ask, what role does the divine feminine play in your work and your life?
That's a really great question. And I think that for me, you mentioned the Libra and the balance, and I think that that's one of the most important things about embracing the divine femininity is to also simultaneously and with equal reverence and priority embrace the divine male. And we as male and female are meant to walk this earth and this lifetime together. And that's not a personal belief system about sexual orientation, because divine male and female shows up in many different forms and in different people in different ways. And women are both divine female and divine male, and men are both. And it is that balance, I think. So I recognize the importance of the divine feminine in me. And when the time is right or the situation is appropriate, I recognize when to bring forth the divine male. And to see that in my spouse, my children, my friends, my parents, my neighbors, we all walk that balance of when each energy is appropriate. And so I suppose I would say to recognize that divine female is not just women and divine male is not just men. and to not bifurcate it with such a hard line, but to recognize that we are both, whether we're, and no matter what our orientation or our gender or our upbringing, culture, religion, background, we embrace both because both are forms of creation. And creation doesn't happen without both forms. So, how can we say we're one without the other? That's like trying to breathe without lungs.
I like that. I like just that whole energetic. There's always seems to be that underlying energetic of overcompensating for how the patriarchal society has come about, and then wanting the pendulum to swing all the way to the other side, and your message of balance and all that. And I understand that the patriarchy is not representative of the divine masculine, but still just keeping that balance is so key. I appreciate your answer
Yeah,
very much.
I think to add on to what you just said or to complement it, neither a patriarchy nor a matriarchy would be ideal.
Right, exactly. And it's that divine union, and it's the balance. I mean,
It's the
it's
balance.
it's perfect that way. So, conscious community has always been, whether it was consciously in your mind, what you were doing with the Temple of Light, what you created was a place for conscious community to meet, assemble, thrive. And this was, now it's now. What is your vision for the future of conscious community for all of us? Because things have changed so much.
Yeah, I think in 2017, when we had to close the brick and mortar version of the Temple of Light, I was given the message and declared verbally that the Temple of Light is now simply mobile and etheric. And I lost sight of that for a few years. I grieved profoundly the closing of the temple. It took me quite a few years to finish grieving. And if anybody has experienced grief, there are the phases of, denial, bargaining, anger, and acceptance. I was stuck in the bargaining stage for quite a few years. What if I had done that? What if I had done this differently? What if I had organized that? What if I had been better at this part of it? So, conscious community is not a concept that resides within a brick and mortar institution. And I've always known that. I simply had to embrace it with a little bit more acceptance. And I think that's where I am now. Conscious community. You're doing it here with this podcast. It's in Facebook, it's in the news, it's in writing books, it's in people saying hello to a neighbor. And interchangeably for me, the word conscious is connection. To me, they're synonymous. And so a conscious community is a connected community. And we are all connected. We have group consciousness. I personally believe, I don't know if you do as well, that most of us are very intuitive. We are all intuitive to a certain degree. And when we embrace that and understand that, we are connected. And if we are connected, then we are less apt to do things in that 49% arena that you described, where it's about selfishness. We're less apt to do things selfishly when we recognize that we are one large unit. Then you embrace more the idea of doing what's good for one is good for all. And I think that all of the trials that we're experiencing right now in our government, in our country, in the world, these are all ways for us to learn it's better when we work together. It's not so great when what's good for us is the zero sum game. That's what we need to work away from embracing and pursuing, but rather the win win. And that's connectiveness, that's conscious community. And it's a global, it's even beyond the global concept. And we can get overwhelmed at how big of a task that is, or we can simply step up and say, okay, I'll I'll do my part to contribute to conscious community and trust that everybody else will in time. And what Spirit always tells me is there's no expiration date on evolution. It will happen in its own time and way, and we don't have to be pressured or anxious or afraid it's not coming. It will happen. It might not happen while you and I are here on this physical world, in this physical lifetime, but evolution is already destined. We'll catch it on the next lifetime, if not this one.
I love it. Now, you've shared so much, and your messages were, are, and will continue to be so powerful. If you could deliver one final message to our audience listening, what would it be as we're nearing the close of our conversation today?
The only thing, this may sound cliche, I apologize. There's only one thing that's real, and that's love. And go into that heart space. Love is the only thing that's real. All the rest of it, the material possessions, the politics, the law, I mean, none of that is really real in the way that we have come to believe it's real. Only love is real.
Best cliche ever.
It's the truth. It is the truth.
I love it.
Oh, you're not telling me we're done already, are you?
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about? We've covered so much, and it's been such just a beautiful, just succinct conversation. I'm a little floaty over here in my space, and I'm loving it. And it reminds me of the times that I sat in your office and I would bring you some of the most challenging experiences of my life, and the things you would say in those moments, and when I would come to service at the Temple of Light, and just be so inspired how you allow it all to just flow through you, and none of that has changed, and you continue to have such an important role here.
Thank you. You were always so dedicated to unpack them. It was you were easy to coach. You were so committed. You were so committed
to carrying around all that extra baggage. I didn't need it, but there were several times I won't go into any details, but one in particular where I was absolutely crushed by a situation. I barely could share it with you through all of the emotion, and what you said that just brought me right back into my center is, I mean, you were made for this. You were, I'm so glad that you're not a CPA currently, and that you're, that you, it's going to sound like judgment, but that you found your way out of that. You got what you needed from that. And then this much bigger role, and let that be a wonderful example for other people that are doing something and wondering if this is the end all be all for their lives. You're getting something from it that's leading to the next step. And who knows, it may be that you're going to be a CPA the rest of your life, and thank goodness, because we need them. But it may be that you're getting these pieces to the puzzle, and then it's to take that to the exactly.
They're all stepping stones, and none of them were irrelevant. None of them were wrong. None of them were unimportant. None of them were a misguidance or a wrong turn. They were all part of the next step that brought you there. And I think when you recognize that there are no mistakes, you didn't make any wrong turns. If there's one more message I can say to people, please, please, please let yourself off the hook if you've got any regrets. You learned from everything you experienced, and nothing that you did was frivolous or a mistake or misguided. You gained experience from it. And one of my favorite cliches is a kindergartner doesn't know how to take a calculus exam. You have to learn to get there. And we're all kindergartners learning how to get to that calculus exam. And you got to go through all the motions to get there. And none of them are wrong.
Love it. I love it. And to just, the signs and messages are all around us. And if we're living in the present moment, we can be guided, we can find the support, it can reinforce our faith in how things are. But if we are constantly living in the future, constantly living in the past, we're missing what God source, the universe, has for us right now, because everything's being answered, and all we need to do is to pay attention. I tell people, if you woke up breathing this morning, and normally when I tell them that, they did, that they continue to have a role to play here, and to embrace that, to have faith in that, and to carry on, and we're all needed. There's whatever the end game is, and I think some of us get glimpses of what that might be here and there and everything, but I don't think any of us are fully aware of what it is. But we're all, when we're conscious and aware, we're all playing our part at the highest level. We're going to get there sooner. And if we all cleared the inner stuff, maybe, just maybe, some of that outer stuff that's less than comfortable would just go away. Paraphrasing a little bit of what you said.
Guaranteed. It might not go away, but you will at least see it differently. So in effect, it goes away because you choose to see it differently.
Right. Like the art of living happy is tied into, the art of being happy. And, there's a lot that the invitation is there for us to drop our frequency, to sink down to the lowest common denominator, using a math term. But many of us have realized that if we hold our energy up here, it's an invitation to everybody in our field to take a step up, and not to drop to whatever's the lowest energy is of the day.
Those temptations can be great, and they can be very convincing, and they can be corroborated, and they can be even validating. And so in many religions, they talk about avoiding temptation. And we're not talking about, the 7 deadly sins, but the temptation is to forget that we are connected to God, source, creator, and move away from that connection. That's the temptation. And that's what we want to overcome, is to come back to that connective source where happiness is there, and we are connected, and we do create the reality, and we can be, as a group, connected.
Love it. If you're feeling less than comfortable, it's probably because you've forgotten who you truly are. And it's a fabulous message. Now, tell us, where can we connect with you, find out more about your work, these sessions and everything? Where can you guide us to that?
I am not yet where I have updated my website. The easiest thing to do is to email me and I will set up a time. And my email is revdaniellemarie@gmail.com. You can post that in the comment section and just email me and say, I need a session. And that's it. I need to set. That's all you have to say is I need a session. And we will set up a time. I do try to limit my sessions to one or two a day just to preserve my energy levels. But I'm here. This is what I do now. I talk to people, help people, guide them, give them angelic messages, encouragement, hope, love, peace, happiness. I mean, this is what I'm here to do, and I am thrilled to be able to do this.
We'll keep doing this. And from me personally, the two words thank you don't seem to be enough. And yet, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that if they knew how much of me evolved because of my interaction and inspiration from you, you would have a multitude more of thank yous just from this one person that you've touched. And I just want to finish off by saying, grateful for you, such deep honor and respect for you. And perhaps the biggest statement that I can make is, and if you'll excuse the wording, I love you, Reverend Danielle. Thank you
Oh,
so
I love
much.
you, Dr. Dream. You have been such an honor to get to know and to witness your journey and to see you doing it with such passion, talent, gift, devotion. It has been my honor to watch you step into your power.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being a guest on the It's All Good show. And along the way, I'm pretty sure that we'll have you back on. You have a wonderful
I
day.
would love that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.